With the LG Phoenix 2, you can always be your selfie. Its Gesture Shot feature makes it simple to snap candid selfies on its 5-megapixel front-facing camera.
Fun day, selfie.
Get it with AT&T GoPhone with unlimited talk, text, and data usage with the first 3 gigabytes at high speed for just $45 a month. All with no annual contract. AT&T, mobilizing your world. Phone restricted to GoPhone service for 6 months after activation. After first 3 gigabytes, data speeds are slowed to up to 128 kilobits per second for rest of term. See store for details.
Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to the Aha Moments Radio Show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of enlightened living worldwide with your host, Mariana Cooper, founder of Aha Moments International and AhaMomentsWorld.com. Tune in for the next hour and learn to trust your Aha Moments to lead the way to live a passionate and purposeful life. And now here's your host, Mari.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aha Moments Radio Show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of enlightened living worldwide. I'm Mari, and happy Tuesday. I'm excited about today's show because it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. You know, we always focus on success, but I think a lot of people don't get there because they get sort of sideswiped by failures along the way. And I want to talk about how to create your own Phoenix Rising effect. I call it the Phoenix Rising effect because most of the time, especially if you're a light worker or somebody, a light leader, I call as my new term, light leader, where you're supposed to lead big groups of people or, you know, do something that's beyond, you know, that's going to get out to the world, right? Something that's going to really help make a big contribution. A lot of times our personal life takes a lot of twists and turns, even more so than the average person, because we are going to be teaching and working with a lot of people, so we have to be able to relate to a lot of their various experiences. And when you are a leader of leaders, this happens in magnitude. I have many colleagues and friends and clients actually who have gone through some really amazing twists and turns in their lives as they've been on the trajectory public success, that public kind of contribution. And I've seen a lot of people who get stuck in the twists and turns of that, and they never, ever get off the dime. They're kind of always in this little spin because they don't allow themselves to take the risk again. Once they feel that big fall, they feel like history will repeat itself, and they are so busy protecting themselves from it ever happening again that they don't actually move forward. So I just, when I was asking the guys what we should talk about this week, I guess, you know, it's the fall. It's time for people to actually take action. In the summer, it's kind of easier to kind of be asleep about this kind of thing and kind of keep putting it off. The weather's good. You're outside. You're doing, you know, fun things, hopefully, and it's easy to put this stuff off. But once the fall hits, like it is now, these things come to the surface because it is a time of action. It's a time of harvest, and we've got a lot going on. So this is, I think, is a great topic, and we're going to dive in a couple of minutes. There's two announcements, two things I wanted to talk about before we get into the topic, and that is, well, there's three. The first thing is if you'd like to call in for a reading a little bit later for the day, you can do so at 347-215-9485. That's 347-215-9485. And we'll get to doing some readings a little bit later in the show. So get in the queue and let Sam chat with you and get you in the list to talk to me. So looking forward to that. The second thing is we are going through a very strange time energy-wise. We have Mercury in retrograde, which started last week. So we have another 2 weeks of that. It ends on October 8th. I believe it started on 16th, 17th of September, something like that last week. And then we have a lunar eclipse next week on the 28th. And there's also an equinox going on. So there's a whole lot of stuff. And I actually had made a decision not to kind of do what I used to do, which was announce the Mercury retrograde and warn everybody and all this, because it really started to feel like we were starting to operate so much out of fear of the retrograde that people weren't able to get anything done. So I decided the last Mercury retrograde to sit it out. I said, you know what, I'm going to just ignore Mercury retrograde this time. And it actually made it for a much easier time because I just wasn't focusing on it. I was focusing on how I wanted things to be. Similar, but when you have eclipses and all these other things going on, and every astrologer on the planet is talking about it, it is something I want to bring up because I think it's always important to understand what the planets are doing, just so that you know that how much of your own engine needs to be engaged when you're doing your own personal work, whether it's manifesting or, just living life. Just, it doesn't even have to be spiritual work. It's just living life. And so when I think it's important for your own energetic hygiene to always have it as an aspect of something that you consider. Because in these types of times, what can happen is we overreact to things. We might catastrophize more. We might feel heavy energy. I know for me physically, I get very tired, and so that might be happening. And feel like you just need more caffeine or more sleep or more exercise. Sam and I were talking about that on the beginning of, before we came on the air. And these types of things can be very influenced by what's going on. I wouldn't say that you need to live by it every minute by minute by minute because it does get a little over the top, and then you start letting something outside of you dictate what you choose to focus on, and whatever you focus on is what you create in your own world. So, but like I said, when we're dealing with an extreme like this, I think it's important to be prudent so you're not beating yourself up or saying, oh my gosh, I need to go get a therapist because everything's wrong, or you're blowing up at your husband and you're like, what's wrong with you, and this is your hormones, no, it's the equinox, I mean, you have to kind of take things into consideration, and, life is a very dynamic process. Now, other Mercury retrogrades that are just a Mercury retrograde, we're not having them during eclipse season. We had a solar eclipse not too long ago. Now we're having a lunar eclipse next week. I mean, there's a lot going on in the atmosphere. So just want to, give you a heads up about that. What you might want to do is take a hot salt bath. You might want to just be a little bit more nurturing with yourself, drinking more water, those types of things, just to ease, and think twice before you speak. When you are upset or stressed out, just, take the time to take that second deep breath and just take it down a little bit, blaring and things like that. Things are misconstrued. Be careful when you're sending those emails. It's very easy to be snippy in an email and get things kind of, spun around and out of control, before you know it. And it's easy to want to snap. If you're feeling, during this time, particularly sad or despondent about, something, you want to just maybe be willing to put it on the back burner for a week or two. See how you feel after the 8th of October when all this kind of subsides. And just roll with it. Just be willing to kind of take the high road for a little bit. Just doesn't mean you can't make decisions or whatever, but just go easy with yourself because there is a lot going on. All right, so that's that with our AHA Energy Check. And then the other thing I wanted to announce is, so our angel readings are over, and I have actually a new program, and it's called the Intuition Masters Program. If you saw the announcement for the radio show today, you saw the first announcement about the Intuition Masters Program. It's a very, very exclusive program. We have a few people in this because it's one-on-one. It's a 10-week one-on-one program for very serious light workers who really want to get fluid in their intuition, who want to work on, we customize it to whatever it is you want to work on, but it's really a very one-on-one, hands-on, customized program. It is by application only. So you have to apply for it. I take a look at it. We see if it's going to be a good fit. And then you can participate in the program. So if you would like to learn more about that, make sure to check your inbox because you have an email in there about it. We'll send out a full announcement tomorrow. Take a look at that, and if you'd like more information, I'm not even doing a web page for this because I only have 3 spots left in the program, but I decided to open it up. I've been going like person by person by person because it was like invitation application only. So when I had readings with people and things, I'd say to that person, I could feel like the guide that it's that person. So I have 3 spots left, and you can email me at support@ahamomentsinc.com. support@ahamomentsinc.com. So there's, we have people who are working on their business. We have people work on personal issues. People who want to, eventually become an intuitive someday. There's lots of different things that we can do during those 10 weeks, but it is 1 hour a week with me for 10 weeks, and there is an application process. So, like I said, support@ahamomentsinc.com if you'd like to consider participating in that. And actually, I think that is the end of today's announcements. Oh, we will be having our self-love project. That was a very popular call last week. Our self-love project training coming up. So the early registration will start next week, and there's a free 3-part free video training series that we're putting together. So that's coming up shortly, probably right after retrograde is over. We'll be launching into that. So I think that's it for now. Let's move on to our topic. And, sometimes it doesn't really require a big fall to feel a big thing to happen to feel like you're taking a big fall. I know I've had, being an entrepreneur for just shy of 20 years, I have seen my life flash before my eyes on many occasions. I've taken some huge leaps. I've crashed into walls, and I've landed on my feet sometimes and not, landed on my face other times. And I think that it's important to address the land on your face thing because what I've noticed on Facebook in particular, and, being in the business that I'm in, I'm around a tremendous amount of motivational, personal development, self-help, spiritual, metaphysical, law of attraction, manifesting gurus and all that. And I can say that there's many, many, many who are extremely reputable and wonderful, and I'm honored to work with them. And then there are many who are copycats and who do not talk about the whole story. And we have, with all the information that we get now, because, I have this conversation with my friend every day, we are so bombarded now with content, right, with information. We have Twitter. We have, I only mentioned Twitter because my publicist was mad at me the other day that I don't have a lot of people on Twitter. I've been focused on Twitter. But we have Twitter. We have YouTube. We have Facebook. We have Pinterest. We have Instagram. We have LinkedIn. We have, just the blogs. The blogosphere is insane. And then we also have cable, and we have Hulu, and we have Netflix, and we have the regular primetime stations. We have all the reality TV. There's and not to mention all the other advertising, plus the, terrestrial radio, regular radio, internet radio. There's so much that we're being bombarded with on a daily basis. And so with everyone knowing that, as the person advertising, so as like myself, like as a spiritual leader, we know that there's a lot out there, and we have to be kind of short about what we want to say, right? So there's all kinds of posts on Facebook about, all you need to do is get started and success will show up, and, just be happy, and all these little quippy, pithy things. And, sometimes I look at them, depending on my mood, and say, well, maybe not so much. They have the picture of the guy standing on the cliff with his arms over his head, just take the leap, like he's about to jump off the cliff, and then, he's going to be caught by the angels or whatever. And, sometimes it's a good thing to jump off the cliff. Other times it's probably not a good idea. It doesn't mean that, that you're supposed to just go without some sort of plan or some sort of construct to what you're doing. Now, there are times when you have that intuitive hit and you say, that way, I'm going that way, okay? And you go and it works. There are other times when you get that intuitive hit and you say, that way, I'm going that way, and it doesn't quite work. In fact, you kind of slam into the side of the mountain and somebody has to rescue you out, you know, and then they kind of prop you back up, put you on crutches, you know, and you fall down again and somebody else props you up. And this is life. Especially as an entrepreneur. Anybody who tells you that their step-by-step system is going to make it perfect for you is not telling you the truth, because it's all about you making it perfect for you, and there is no such thing. The only thing that's perfect is imperfection. Okay, so I want to be very clear with that. So if you are facing a situation where you feel like you failed or you've taken a big fall and you're really kind of smarting about it, you know, you're feeling like wounded, and you notice that you're procrastinating, or, and you know, especially if it happened a while ago, and you're facing, you know, kind of that, I've got my back is up against the wall and I have to make a decision type of situation. And the only reason why you're not making a decision is because of the past fall. I'm talking to you today because I really have been there, and there's a way to dig out of that. You know, and I know, like the title of the show, Phoenix Rising. You know, Phoenix Rising, it seems like it's like one quick thing. The bird is in the fire, the flames, it's the ashes, and poof, there's the bird up out of the ashes. They don't really talk about what the time lapse is from the ashes to the flapping bird. You know, there's a lapse there. There's some stuff going on in between the ashes and the flight, okay? And that's the part that nobody likes to talk about, because guess what? That doesn't sell programs. It doesn't sell packages. It doesn't sell books. You know, it doesn't, but it's reality of life, that life is, you know, one moment at a time, and life is really about what you focus on, and life is so much more in your control than you think. And if you are looking back at your past, I know some people that every single day, all the time, they default back to something that happened in their past. Whenever they're trying to justify something good or something bad, they default back to the time in their past. You know, how many of you have, you know, just tell stories about the past? I see people on Facebook all the time. It's like, oh, when I used to, oh, I just want to get back to where I was. Oh, I just want to go back there. Oh, I just want to be where I was 10 years ago. Oh, I just want to be where I was 12 years ago. Well, guess what? There is no way you'll ever be where you were 10 to 12 years ago. Ever. You won't even be where you were yesterday. Why? Because the frequency changes. You're not the same frequency. You're not even the same body, because our bodies regenerate themselves as well. But you're not. There's nothing that is going to get you to be back where you were 10 years ago. What you might want to say that's actually a better command to the energy is, I'd like to move forward. Or even better than that, I'd like to be present with everything I desire in the now, right now. You know, because ultimately, it's all available. Now, there are, you know, learning curves and all that kind of stuff. So the first point I wanted to really make, though, was that please, please, please stop saying you want to go back anywhere to anything. Now, you might want to say, what I'd love to do is bring some of that confidence I had in my 20s forward to now. Okay? You know, bring some of that. I know when I was in my 20s, oh, boy, you couldn't tell me anything. Especially when I was in corporate America, oh, boy. I would pick up the phone and I would call anybody. I wanted to work on Janet Jackson's World Tour. I picked up the phone, I called the manager. You know, it was crazy. I wanted to work with Elizabeth Taylor on a fundraiser for AIDS. I called her people. Got letters from them and everything. You know, you couldn't tell me that I could do something. Just couldn't tell me. And then I went through a real dark night of the soul, mid-30s, and you know, and all that confidence just sort of went by the wayside. You know, there's a lot of reflection. Now, when you get sideswiped by life, my fiance passed away, gained a bunch of weight. There was I left my job. So I left like kind of a life structure, and I was just like, whoa, I lost so much, and I've had lots of loss, relationships, all kinds of things. But what I learned was that those are the times when the universe is making you dive deep down into, I call it root development, where your roots are growing. A tree can only stand as tall as its roots are deep. So the root system grows, and then you see what pops up above the soil, right? That tree it can maybe stand a bit, but it's not going to stand up to a storm. And a lot of our growth towards these big goals is underground, in the darkness. So it doesn't mean that you're not growing. It just means, you're not getting the blossoms on the trees. You're not getting the accolades. You're not getting all of the fancy stuff. It's funny because somebody was saying, going to be an overnight success with this book, and then I laughed. I'm like, yeah, 20 years to be an overnight success. It's been a tremendous amount of work to get a book out the door, and I had great success when it came to the actual process of, I got an agent talking to her, we sold the book, we got our first offer for the book within 24 hours of the book, her pitching to 55 publishers. We got a really major publisher to take me on, and publicists and all kinds of things. But that was just because I had worked for so long on telesummons, and we've over 500 episodes of shows, and just flop after flop after flop, and highs as well, and thousands of clients, and doing events and working with other people who are in the business, and joint venturing, and telesummits, and on and on and on and on. So by the time it was time to do something like publish a book, I had such a role, we have a platform, we have a community, I have experience with media, all these things. It was easy for them to say yes, because I wasn't coming to them as a blank slate. And for, as a sidebar, for anybody out there who wants to write a book and who wants to get traditionally published, and go beyond the self-publishing thing, you really do need to pay your dues and put in your work. And it's not a hard process if you have what they're looking for. It's not hard at all. I mean, it's hard as far as a lot of work and a lot of, wanting to change things, whatever, but it's not hard as people who are selling all these programs on being self-published, trying to make traditional publishing seem like it's impossible. It's not impossible if you have what they want. If you paid attention and you've done the legwork. So a lot of the stuff that you go through, part of that legwork is the failures, because you learn so much underground. You learn so much. You stop, you reflect. And what it also builds, particularly wants to know about, it builds empathy. I used to watch some of my friends in corporate America, and then they were making money, and they were sitting real high on the mountaintop, and they had their cars and their kids and their this and their that. Hadn't been through any loss, hadn't been through any criticism, hadn't been through, and they were just banging it up the corporate ladder. And then one day there was a layoff, or one day somebody died, or one day they got a divorce, or one day something happened, the money ran out, or something happened. And that same person that used to put people down and snicker behind their backs and all that kind of stuff, all of a sudden was one of those people. And let me tell you, totally different people now. Totally, got rid of the husband, the old house, whatever, and they're totally different people and so much happier because they found themselves within within the ashes. There's a lot of gold in those ashes. A lot of gold. So there are big types of falls, and there's all types of falls. We have what I call the dark night of the soul, and I think we've talked about that on the show in the past, but essentially we have our various life categories. We have our relationships, our job, our health, our money, our finances and whatnot, our families. And, most of the time most people have one or two or three or sometimes four of those categories are really pretty on par all the time. Some people are just money people. No matter what happens to them, they have money. But they may not have health right? They're always in the hospital. They're always at the doctor. They're always, so their weaker constitution is the health. Their learning category, I call them, might be health. Where you have some people have chronic money issues, like they just can't seem to get on their feet financially. And it's just like every time you talk to them, you think, oh, are you better now? And it's like, well, no, not really. And regardless of the cause, it's just kind of their sheet for learning. Their platform for learning is in the area of finance. That's where they're going to learn their empathy lessons. That's where they're going to learn their soul acceleration lessons. Okay, some people it's relationships. Where they just really focus and you can know what your learning category is by what it is you're longing for the most, and what is it that feels like the most chronic issue that you have, and that category is where you signed up to learn the majority of your lessons: empathy, your courage, your resilience, your how you manage your emotions, all that kind of stuff. Okay, and so some people learn that through health, some people relationships, through a variety of different things. When you have though a acute time of acceleration, you will go through what's called a dark night of the soul, and that's where it seems like you have crisis in all of those categories, or the majority of them, 4 out of 5, or 3. I would say, let's say there's 6 categories. I say when you get to that four areas feel like they're collapsing around you, that's a dark night of the soul. And that's usually a time where this is talk about Phoenix rising, this is an opportunity, because it's really leveling up. It's like going from 15,000 feet to 30,000 feet in a plane. You go through turbulence on the way up to the next altitude, right? So it's an altitudinal change in your life. So some people literally commit suicide over it because they can't figure out, they don't know that it's really an altitude shift, that you're being accelerated, that you're being, pushed forward, that you're taking a quantum leap. It's like the gymnast punching off the board and going over the vault. That's what those times are. Absolutely, that's what those times are. But it is really, really easy, and you could. I don't care who you talk to, myself included, as far as coaches and teachers and leaders and book authors and all this, every single one of them has been through a dark night of the soul in some way, shape, or form. They may not publicize it, but they've been through it. Okay, because where do you think all that wisdom comes from? You don't get that wisdom, that level of wisdom, from everything being sunshine, lollipops, and roses. We can channel a lot, this and that, but what do you think would drive a person to want to channel in the first place? Because they're super happy, joy, let's go find somebody in the ethers to talk to? Probably not. It's probably more like, OMG, I'm going to die. Is there anybody out there listening? And then they hear, yes, I am listening. How can I help you? I am your angel, whatever. But you are not doing that when you've got, resources in every category of your life, and you're running around to the Cartier and driving the Bentley and all the generally if everything is cushy, you're not being driven to ask for those for extra advice from on high, because it feels like everything's in a good place. Now, what would be nice to see, and my cats love this show. They are jumping all over my office desk, and I'm trying to get them not to flip over my iced tea. What the guys would like to see, and I think what we are moving forward in this new energy, we know how I always talk about this new energy, what we're moving forward in is that the energy itself, the energetic grid that we're all connected to, has accelerated. And it has been accelerating exponentially every single day, especially since 2012. We've had other times, the harmonic convergence and the harmonic concordance all back in the 80s and 90s and et cetera. We've had, acceleration points in history, okay? The fall of Hitler was one, they said that's quote unquote when the New Age actually started. It's all kinds of, everybody has all kinds of speculation. But we're in a time of acceleration because the frequency of the grid has changed. And in addition to that, in addition to the frequency changing, the ability for us to communicate with each other on the physical plane has changed. So if you want to know, this is something I'm literally channeling right now. Take notes. They're just telling me this. If you want to know if there's been a frequency change, pay attention to the various systems of communication that you use on Earth. So, for instance, in 2007, Facebook came. And because Facebook, of course they had MySpace before that and all that, but we started this trajectory in the early 2000s of interconnect. Physically connect with each other was accelerating. And on the underground, on the energetic level, the new grid was starting to load in so that energetically we were connecting at a much higher frequency. Why? Because you're not going to be exposed to so many more opinions. For instance, we have Facebook, right? Facebook fascinates me. There's billions, who knows how many people on this thing now, right? Hundreds of millions, billions, whatever. And prior to that, people didn't know what the other people were thinking unless they were reading a newspaper, major, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, these types of things, LA Times, Chicago Tribune, those types of, Miami Herald, those big papers. They were one of the few one of the few major TV networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, They were one of the major radio stations or major magazines. Lifetime, Newsweek, right? So, and major publishers and major record companies, right? So when I say major, there was like 10 of them each, right, or less, and they held all the power of our ability to communicate with each other. Guess what they also did? Because they were natural, built-in societal filters, they fed us a certain amount of information that our energetic circuits could actually handle. The energetic grid was slower. The information coming at us was slower. What we had to react to and shift in gears with was slower. When the communication system amped up to now Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, the whole thing, it collapsed the filtering of these big powerhouses, and now everybody is their own powerhouse. You can iTunes, come on, Netflix. You can produce your own TV, your own music. You can do your own book. You can create your. Look at these YouTube stars. These kids make a fortune, and they're doing makeup. Look at the little kid on Dancing with the Stars. 8 million followers this kid has. He's dancing on Dancing with the Stars. Why? Because he's got a following. Right? He's got a voting public that the show feels valuable. But if all of that is going on in our mucky-muck mundane world, imagine what's going on in our energetic world. We are now being exposed to so much more awareness of what's going on. How many times do you go through your Facebook and you see a dog that's been abused, or a woman, oh God, some of these things are dead children, my friend Joe sends me all these horrible things. It's like every day we fight, I'm going to kill you. Why are you sending me this stuff? And it's because it's a bombarding, right? And the more, especially if you guys are light workers, every time you see something on there that's a really hard thing to look at, your energy jolts. And remember, whatever you focus on, you create more of. So it's the intensity of everything increases. So if you have all of that just by showing up, and just by mindlessly scrolling through Instagram or Facebook or what any of these things are, which, by the way, is when you're most energetically receptive to a message, is when you're mindlessly scrolling through. It's like kind of trance-like. You receive it way more than you would think, right? It hits you way, way deeper, and it shifts your energy. So the energetic grid had to be upgraded because our ability to communicate and our exposure level was going to go through the roof. All right, why does this all come up? Because a lot of times what you're perceiving as a big fall is actually a pruning of the vine so that you can grow, or accelerated growth of your roots for your stability, or it could be and/or for each of these things, or it is a little gift package of what your life purpose is. One of your life purpose. I don't really believe in one life purpose, but one of your life purposes is. most of the time our life purpose comes in the form of adversity. Our thing that we can make, let's stop the word life purpose, and let's say one of your greatest contributions to others originates in these little pockets of crisis. So when my fiance passed away and I was in the cemetery and we had just buried him, and I'm looking across, I'm in my late 20s, I'm looking across the hills of, we were Washington, D.C., and it was a big cemetery, beautiful cemetery, big oak trees, the whole thing, rows and rows of headstones. And I looked around and I said, this guy who's very young has died with most of his dreams intact. I mean, yes, he was talented, choreographer and actor and singer and all this stuff. But the grave was way richer with his talent than we were because he hadn't gotten fully out there yet, right? And that's when it hit me, how many people go into their graves with all their dreams intact. How rich is this cemetery? How rich is this soil with people who have not risen out of the ashes, who have gotten sideswiped, misidentified what that was, did not bounce out of it, or who blamed it on somebody else, or who gave all their energy to their kids and figured their kids will make something of themselves. They're lost. How many people have done that? And that's when it hit me. That was like a massive turning point for me, that I needed to focus on helping people get their work out to the world. And that sort of intertwined over the years with, the whole intuitive thing. And, I won't go into that whole story at this point, but I would just say that was a terrible time for me, but it was a big, giant apricot seed being put into the ground, for an entire career, and with ridiculous number of twists and turns. So when you're going through these things yourself, when you're in these dark night of your soul, the most important, there's a couple of really things that, when you're down in the trenches of this kind of stuff, it's really important. This is part of the rising from the ashes system, is you want to have 3 different support systems. And a lot of people stop with the first one. The first support system is friends and family, if they can relate, and that's a big if. The second one, because some of them are going to tell you, well, you should have stayed in corporate. Like my mom was saying, well, if you just stayed with that phone company, maybe you wouldn't be so stressed out, because I was going through a hard time in my business. And, to her, corporate was the safe place. But anyway, your friends and family is support system 1, or A, let's call it support system A. Professionals, mental health professionals, okay? Do not be shy with that. Okay, and I'm not talking life coaches per se. I'm talking about like a true mental health practitioner, psychotherapist, social worker, that type of person. That's one tier. Of course, life coaches are another tier for sure. But you want to go to those professionals who can really evaluate where you are at stability-wise. If you've been going through a major trauma, I know on some readings, people call me for a reading and they really need mental health. I happen to have a degree in psychology and a background in the mental health field and was med certified and all that, so I kind of know my way around. But I can always tell when somebody really needs more mental health support than they do a reading with the angels or an Akashic record thing or even a coaching, right? They need more systematic support. So professionals who are adept at working with whatever issue you're going through. So maybe if you're dealing with something with your taxes, you're going to go to a tax attorney to get help, to get somebody in the arena who sees all these things all day long. They see all the catastrophes. They know how to get you out of it. That's the type of thing you need to seek out. If it's mental health, you're depressed, if you're sad, if you're angry, you need to go to someone who has a good, solid, reliable, duplicatable system to help you to lead into. Doesn't mean that you won't evolve into something else or a more energetic spiritual thing, but I think a lot of times we really do need to focus it, where the issue is at hand. And then also the energetic, healing kinds of professionals. I think that we all really, as we move to my platform, as I launch a book and everything, that, a lot of times when you're doing these kinds of things, you have to, and I have two publicists now, so there's constantly like the push to kind of define yourself, you define what you stand for. And I think what I really discovered was that I really think it's important to be able to take all of these esoteric principles and apply them to real life and live on the real life side of the fence, not so much on the energetic side of the fence. I see a lot of people, when they discover the energetic side of things, they think they're supposed to abandon real life. But we're here on Earth to have fun and to work and to contribute and to learn and to be. And you can't do that if you're always trying to escape through energetic things. So it's a matter of collaborating the two together. And so I would not be afraid of inviting professionals who are on kind of I call on the real world side of the fence, on the sort of physical world side of the fence, and then incorporate a team of energy people as well. But you need to have both, so you have a balance, because ultimately taking physical action is what's going to get you out of most things. Right? You'll get the energetic hit, you'll get the energetic lift, you'll channel, you'll do angels and everything. For me, I do all of that. But if I wasn't willing to write the chapters of the book by going to the bookstore every single day, write it for 3 hours or whatever, I wouldn't have physically, and if I didn't get an agent and get a publisher, I wouldn't get the book out. So you have to collaborate the two. A lot of people try to hide in the psychic and energetic stuff. And you don't want to do that. You want to collaborate the two together. Second support system of, earth people, of earth professionals, and then your energetic professionals. And then the third support system that you want to make sure you have are the people who've been through it. Okay, so if, you're trying to talk about, your issue with your relationship to someone who has never been married or who has never, who had a horrible divorce or whatever, it's probably not the best person. You want it, like they have these grief groups and these different support groups, whether, of course there's all the 12-step groups, but there's all sorts of groups of meetups, things. You want to get a small support group of people who've been through what you're going through so that you can kind of get perspective. Doesn't mean that you're supposed to be there forever and just, have it be a bitch session or anything, but if you have a combination of these different support systems, you'll know who to turn to for, at what point. But you want to always be focused on the next step towards healing. The next step towards healing. It is very comfortable. I was talking about this to a client the other day. Inertia is one of the biggest comfort zones out there. And grief is also a big comfort zone because, you know what? A lot of times, change requires vulnerability. Okay? So when we stay grief-stricken, angry, sad, I'm procrastinating, I don't know why am I stuck, why tell me why I'm stuck. You're stuck because you like inertia. And you might not like it in the way that you like ice cream, but you like it better than you like being vulnerable and taking risks. So you pick inertia each day. At the end of the day, you pick it. At the end of the day, you pick it. Now, it might be, and that's what was my next point, and will be my last point because we're going to get to some readings. Everything is a choice. And at some point, you go through the severity of the whatever, or you kind of get on the other side, but then there's that kind of like shell shock kind of time where you're just like, oh, God, it just went through it. It's over, but oh, my goodness. And then you kind of retreat and all that. Then you make a choice. And it's healthy to retreat, by the way. But then it's also healthy to get back in the saddle, and that's the rising process. This is the bird rising up out of the ashes. So when you get back in the saddle, you start to operate and expand in your world again. Okay? Having your band of support to teach will help you. They'll have perspective that you may not have because you're involved. And they'll be able to tell you, it's time. It's time for you to step forward now. It's time. I know it might feel a little, vulnerable, and it's been kind of comfy cozy being in this kind of, I had a horrible thing happen to me, and I just, but it's important that that support team can give you perspective of when it's time for you to move on. And you'll also know in your body and in your energy, okay, and one day you just become less emotionally charged and less emotionally charged and less emotionally charged, and you'll look back at the issues and say, yeah, that happened. And, doesn't mean you might get a little a little tinge of something. But for the most part, time really does heal all wounds. And, this rising part is really about the expansion into the world again, and then taking whatever it is you went through, which is why it's important to keep a journal of all this stuff and your different, milestones and backslides along the way. But journaling and getting to that next level where you can gift this experience and become part of one of those support teams for someone else. Many, many friends who call me and say, Marty, I have this business I'm starting, and I just have to talk to you. I want to talk to you about, wherever piece of the business they're in, because they know that 9 times out of 10, whatever they were going through, I've been to it at some point in the last 20 years. And I said, oh, yeah, that. Oh, yeah, that's just this, and then I was, oh, really? I didn't fail? Nope, you didn't fail. That's just normal. Now I'll keep going, do this. It's part of the process. Okay, so you get an adversity, you overcome it. You feel great about yourself for overcoming it, and then you gift back some of that wisdom. There's a saying that says, anyone can learn from their own mistakes, but it takes a wise man to learn from the mistakes of others. And when you're willing to share what those mistakes are or were, it really can be a gift. It really could be a gift to someone else getting their work out the world a little sooner than you did. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to just give you the number. Call in. It's 347-215. Almost forgot it. 9485. It's 347-215-9485. And we're going to start right now with some calls. I see Sam has you guys lined up. If you've been waiting on the phone, thank you. And please come back to the phone now so that when we swing by, you are actually still there. Okay, so first we have Diana in Florida. Hi, Diana.
Hi, that was great. Am I muted?
Oh, good. Yep.
Oh, you can hear me.
I
okay,
hear you.
I thought I was
muted.
I think you've answered my questions, but I want to tell you what happened today, and I'll be quick so everybody else can talk.
Okay.
I have a circle of crystals, and I have my Zapatio scale tuning forks, and I sing, the things that I'm thankful for. My big bottle of greens. Now, this has been going on for 3 months now. They cost like $100. I'm thankful I get to walk in that health food store with $100 and buy my big bottle of greens for my light body. I'm a light worker. I work a lot, so work a lot, put on my feet. So anyway. That's one of them, and I don't need to tell you the rest of them because what happened today related to that one. So after using the restroom, I look in the mirror and I say, you are worthy of a big bottle of greens, you know that. Somebody knocks on the door. Now this week I had received a bunch of meat, like hamburger and pork and ribs and things that I've been trying to make that, I just don't desire. And somebody knocks on the door, and I decide to answer it because I'm hoping it's my computer I manifest that I have every day because 49 are coming to the door because I'm going to give 48 of them to people like me. But anyway, it was a man driving a meat truck.
Oh, wow.
Meat. So it was the universe. What was the universe telling me? Because I've been struggling just to get through all this free meat that was given me, and I've practically pleaded, you are worthy of a bottle of greens, I finally reached my 2-month limit of asking for that. And This is what I get. I get somebody to ask me if I want to meet. And then I told him I really need
to stop you. I have to stop you because I think that I thank you for the story, but I have to get on to the next person. And it's very clear that you have a really strong connection with whatever it is you're doing down there in Florida, and that you are attracting in, by your very focus, what you are looking for. So congratulations on that. Thanks for sharing. We're going to move on to the next person, and that would be Stephanie in Arkansas. Hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What's your question?
My question, I went through a divorce several years ago, and last night I was looking through some old notebooks from that time because retrograde.
Right.
And I feel like I've bounced back, But reading that got me thinking about whether I'm still stuck with some stuff from back then, especially in the area of finances, and a little bit health, but mostly finances. And I'm not sure what you can see around that or how to heal from it because it's so subconscious.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. So you said you're looking at
journals that I kept around the time that I was going through the divorce.
Right. No, that part I got. And so now when you start to read things like that, and I know that happened to me when I was moving, I literally, like an idiot, bought like 16 boxes of journals from New York to California. Ridiculous. But I didn't have time to go through them because I said, well, that's what I thought. Like, who knows what's going to happen when I write my memoirs, you know? Dumb. I could have just picked one because they were all the same problems at the same 17 times, 17 different journals.
That's true.
So, you know, it's just, you know. But so what happens is you spiral, okay? You spiral up from these things. So when you go back and look, it's a great kind of litmus test. You know, it's just a balancer to show you where you come from. But it is a caution to say, okay, it feels more like it was a marker for you. Now, again, like I started talking at the top of the show, you can't go back to where you were. So even though you're observing it now from where you sit, now you're in a totally different frequency now.
Yeah.
So you have a lot more opportunity to shift that. So what I would say is that in your, you know, meditation work, in your focus, in your intention work, that you just ask, instead of trying to fix, just ask for healing. And just say, you know what, can you please just call in your guide. Archangel Michael happens to be around you, by the way. And just say, can I please have healing of this? And to please take any residual energies that would be slowing me down from that time and bring them up to speed. Okay? And that will help to shift that. I wouldn't feel like
so even though they're subconscious, like I don't have to know what it is.
No. It's actually even better. It's actually even better because you don't get all caught up in it in your mental mind. Use your mental mind for something positive and fun. Joy is the best octane for manifesting ever. So instead of like trying to ratchet in your head how, you know, oh my gosh, I was doing that when I was divorced, now I'm still doing it. You know, just forget about it. Go to fly kite it at the beach.
Just kind of stay in the joy vibration as much as...
Stay in the joy vibration. You know, because you're staying in it with awareness. You're not blissing out, and if you're having joy with intention of healing, right, there's a difference, right?
Okay. So there's a directionality to it that way. That's right. And the first thing you want to do is just, in your meditation work, maybe the next day or two, just ask for healing around that. And just ask for any information that you need to know in order to foster the healing. Because remember, we were talking about that collaboration between, you know, physical, real world and the energetic. That's what we want. We want a perfect figure, as perfect as we get, figure 8, where we kind of have, you know, a balance. Now, what I will say, this is going to sound contradictory to the perfect figure 8 because the guides are just saying, well, wait a second. Energy always is more powerful than physical action. You know, there's a statistic, I forget the exact statistic, but it was like 17 seconds of energetic thought is worth 2 hours of physical activity. Wow. So, yeah, it's that kind of a ratio. It's huge. And so what you want to do is always work the energy first, and then then whatever physical activity is left over, it's the bare minimum of what you would do if you did it the other way around. Most people focus on the physical, and then, oh, maybe I should go listen to Mari's show and get a little energy. That might be good. No, you should do the energy stuff. Work smarter, not harder.
Right.
And is Archangel Michael a good one for that, for like the raising the vibration? And
absolutely, he's the best. And he's a wonderful protector. So yeah, he'll put that white light around you. And he's the teaching angel for the light workers. So he's around you for a reason, for sure. So just, you know, keep journaling and do that, and I think you should be in good shape. I think
burn the old ones, make new ones.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
All right, take care. Have a great night. Okay, who do we have next? Okay, so now we have Janet in New York. Hi, Janet.
Hi, Mari. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. My question this evening is around my work. I've had a lot of upheaval the last 3-4 years where I've been out of work for a year at a time, which has never happened to me in 30-plus years. And this last year, I relocated to New York with a job. So I've been employed for the last year, but I seem to be repeating patterns of the past where I just seem to be working harder and longer, and there just really doesn't seem to be much, job satisfaction. It doesn't feed me what I don't know. There's not a lot of joy around it. And so I just seem to be repeating these patterns, and it seems to be getting harder and harder. And I'm doing the job's fine and things are going okay, but it's just not very rewarding. And I just if there's any input or thoughts you might have.
When you were looking for the job, what was your attitude about it? Were you saying, I really need to find something to carry me through, I need to just get moving again and then I can sort it out? Or were you saying, I want to find the job of my dreams?
Actually, I was looking for, I don't know that I said job of my dreams, but I wasn't looking for a job just to fill, because I did have a couple opportunities and they weren't right. I knew they weren't right, so I passed on them. And so I was really looking for a job that was going to grow me to the next level and give me opportunities. And this could feed into that, but it's been a year, and it's just, unfortunately, it's a company that just asks for more and more and more.
Stop. I'm going to stop you. Stop. Okay, so here's the thing. When people move like that, it was funny because I had a friend who just moved from California to North Carolina, and I told her, don't move. You're going to be miserable. You're going to be miserable. Oh, no, I have to move, Marion. But she was kind of down and out and depressed here, and she thought that just by moving she was going to be better, because she thought, and she moved, and now she's down and out and depressed there. Now she wants to move back. So, it's the good old adage, wherever you are, there you will be. So this is not a job thing. The job is like what we were talking about earlier in the show, is your kind of schoolyard, your learning opportunity. That's the job. That's the category where you do your big spiritual learning. But the reason why it's repeating itself is because you're working very much from the physical world, but you're not working enough with the energy for shifting. So, you're looking and you're reacting. You're watching the job and you're reacting. It's like, okay, I'm not liking this, and then you're reacting, and something happens. And what you don't realize is that you're not liking it is actually making it get worse. So, because that's the influencer. What's really creating it is your focus and your imagination. And and if you're going home and you're kind of envisioning the situation you were in today and your conversation with the boss, and then you're envisioning, how much worse is it going to be, and then you're thinking back and envisioning how it was in the last job, and then you're comparing the two jobs. You're using your imagination, which is your most powerful creation tool, against yourself. So that's why it's repeated. So what you're going to have to do is going to feel very counterintuitive to you, because clearly you're very, very, you're a smart lady. You have a high level of intelligence. I bet you have a very high IQ. You can just feel it. And you are intellectual in the sense that because you're smart and you're rational and you can put things together, you're great at that kind of a thing. But that's like, and animates your energy if it's not counterbalanced appropriately with intuitive stuff. So my suggestion to you is to start to do is a little exercise. The first thing I'd like you to do is just write down. You could do this with a visioning session, but I think for you it would be better to write down, because it'll feel more real, more concrete. Is to take what if money was no object, what would my perfect day and my perfect lifestyle look like? And you can interchange perfect with magical, whatever word you want, because it's perfect sends you off the edge. Oh, no, if it's perfect, forget it. So don't analyze it, but just take the time to really write it. And the reason why, when I say to write, I want you to write it by hand. I don't want you to type it. When you write by hand, it actually has a higher vibration than typing, because you're not in an electromagnetic field of a computer, right? So it'd be nice if you could take a notebook outside and just write. And also it involves your physical body. Your energetic intelligence is in every single cell in your body, not just in your head.
So when you do the writing and you do it the stroke of that pen, it's engaging all of your energetic faculties plus your physical faculties, and you get that collaborative effect that I was talking about earlier in the show. Okay? So that takes us from just a cute little exercise that Mari gave me to a full-on kind of interaction with your energy that starts to unstick it. Because you're literally taking an action for shifting. Okay, I don't want to say change to you because that word sets you off. Say shift, okay? Because you're a smart girl. That smartness, by the way, Janet, works against you, okay?
Sure.
You know it. So you need to chill out on that, and you need to do what I tell you, and you need to write this thing, okay? I say, you're like my friend Joan. You're like my friend Joan. I know it. I want you to write that out. What this little, because you know what that lightness is? That's saying, oh, I want to do that. But then there's the delta check. Now, the lightness that says, oh, that sounds like fun, is the inner child in you. The inner child is always the point of creation. We all have one. The inner child is the point of creation. The feminine is the visionary, takes the idea of the inner child and says, oh, what can we do with that? And the masculine is the taskmaster. That's the to-do list portion of you. Okay? We all have all three within us, but usually we only give a voice to one. So for you, you've kind of gotten overloaded with the masculine energy of getting things done, and you've shut down your communication with the visionary and with the child, which is why this is all kind of happening. It feels like it's happening to you. This is for everybody listening. If you feel like your life is happening to you, look and see just how much masculine energy you're doing. Are you letting yourself play it all? Are you letting yourself have a vision of a bigger picture? If those two things are kind of void or just you don't take them as seriously as the get it done part, more than likely you're exhausted from too much to do and not feeling fulfilled. Okay, so I'm going to have to jump off because the show is over. But I just
thank you.
Helped you on and put you on the right track and give that exercise a try. It actually works wonders. It's a lot more powerful than it sounds. So, thank you guys, everybody, for listening tonight and for calling in. Again, if you would like to participate in our 10-week Intuition Masters program with me, be one of those three people, please write me at support@ahamomentsinc.com for an application. We're taking applications this week, and we already got a few in today from the emails from yesterday. So please, please, please don't wait. Go ahead and write in, and let's see if we can work together. I love this work. This is good stuff. And we will see you this time next week, same time, same place. We'll end with my motto, which is you truly can have exactly what you want. You absolutely deserve it too. And in this new energy, anything is possible. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.
You've been listening to the Aha Moments radio show with your host, Mari. Be sure to visit her blog and website at www.ahamomentsinc.com. That's AHA, Moments with an S, Inc.com. Also join Mari on Facebook at www.facebook.com/ahamomentsinc and Twitter at twitter.com/ahamoments. We can't wait to see you there.
がぐんぐんですか？
With the LG Phoenix 2, you can always be your selfie. Its Gesture Shot feature makes it simple to snap candid selfies on its 5-megapixel front-facing camera.
Sunday fun day selfie.
Get it with AT&T Go Phone with unlimited talk, text, and data usage with the first 3 gigabytes at high speed for just $45 a month. All with no annual contract. AT&T, mobilizing your world. Phone restricted to Go Phone service for 6 months after activation. After first 3 gigabytes, data speeds are slowed to up to 128 kilobits per second for rest of term. See store for details. With the LG Phoenix 2, you can always be your selfie. Its Gesture Shot feature makes it simple to snap candid selfies on its 5-megapixel front-facing camera.
Sunday fun day selfie.
Get it with AT&T Go Phone with unlimited talk, text, and data usage with the first 3 gigabytes at high speed for just $45 a month. All with no annual contract. AT&T, mobilizing your world. Phone restricted to Go Phone service for 6 months after activation. After first 3 gigabytes, data speeds are slowed to up to 128 kilobits per second for rest of term. See store for details.